Shalom, shalom, it's the brother Kadash. I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and honors to all the brothers in this truth. This is just a second video on multiple wives, but I think I'm going to name it. I'm going to change it from multiple wives and say, will we have wives in the kingdom? Because the brother, once again, King's Jester was asking this question. At first, he was asking for a friend, like, are we going to have multiple wives? Then it was more like, are we going to even have wives in the kingdom because of a precept that he has shown? And then I also want to say, brother King's Jester, you see this video, that I have no problem. Anytime you ask a question, this is what we're here for. We take pride. I will say I like when you ask questions, or anybody ask questions and I make videos. So it's not like a burden on me. It's not like I gotta make a video and have to do the work and explain. No, I drop everything I'm doing to do this. This is a blessing that you even coming to me and asking me that I could even share some knowledge with you. Matter of fact, going back to, because we're going to get into Zechariah chapter 8. But Zechariah chapter 8, real quick, verse 16, it says, these are the things that ye should do. Speak ye every man the truth to his neighbor. So this is what I was made for. This is my lot. This is what I created for. Speak the truth to my neighbor. So you're my neighbor. If you come ask me a question, then I'm going to break it down to the best of my abilities. It says, execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates, and let none of you imagine evil in your heart against his neighbor, and love no false oath. For all these things that I hate, say the Lord. So these are the things that we should do, is break down these scriptures. I study the scriptures every day for this exact reason. Now, going back onto proving that we're going to have wives in the kingdom, you just got to put two and two together. I mean, if we go back to Mark 10, which I put out in the last video, verse 29, it says, Yahushua answered and said, verily I say unto you, there is no man that has left house or brethren or sister or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my sake in the gospels, but he should receive 100-fold now in this time. Talking about when we get to the kingdom, houses and brethren and sisters and mother and children and lands with persecutions in the world to come, eternal life. Now I know in verse 30 it didn't say wives in that verse, and you should break down this chapter, the whole chapter, Mark 10, because it breaks it down, but and it breaks down what verse 12 breaks down what adultery is, and it doesn't say anything about a man taking a second wife. It's just saying, look, if a woman should put away her husband and marry to another, she committed adultery. It's showing that a woman commits adultery by sleeping with another man, or a man commits adultery by sleeping with another man's wife. But back to verse 30, I know it don't say wives, but you got to see that in verse 29, it said wives for a reason. Wife is in there for a reason, because that's a part of the 100-fold that we're going to receive in the kingdom, which points to that we're going to have wives in the kingdom. But even if you just take verse 30, right, and you say, look, houses, it says, but he should receive 100-fold now in this time, houses. So you think we're just going to have homes? We're going to have houses where we live at, but no man is going to have a wife in the kingdom. We're just going to be man and woman there, but we're not going to be able to pop the woman, right? Because when you go into the elect, here, let me see. Let me see if I could pull this, thinking off the top of my head. We're going to have houses, because houses is where you raise families at. If you put two together, which I know and you're asking for a friend, and really you're just asking so you could be equipped with the scriptures for when somebody comes up against you or you get into the debate, you can know what scriptures to go through and stuff like that, which makes sense, but when you go to Revelations chapter 7, it tells you the elect that's going to be saved. Verse 9, and behold, and lo, a great multitude which no man can number, out of all nations of kindred and people and tongues, stood before the throne, before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. Now, when it says people, that's talking about women and men. Because if it was just men, it would have said a great multitude of men. But when it's talking about people, it's talking about women, men, children, and everything is going to be a part of the elect and be saved. So that goes to show you that we're going to have woman and man in the kingdom, but we're not just going to have woman and man in the kingdom, different genders in the kingdom, but we're not going to be able to touch the beautiful woman. Our women are going to be made beautiful in the kingdom. right? They're going to get those curses taken off of them. You go to Isaiah 3, the curse of the hair was put on, especially the Negro woman, but the Israelite woman, they're going to have those curses taken off of them, which we're going to get into that too. Those curses being taken off of us. Now, they're going to be beautiful in the kingdom. So you think we're just going to have strong, healthy, these men with these spiritual powers, but we're not going to be able to touch the beautiful, strong woman? No, so that's why going back to Mark 10 to wrap up in Mark 10, verse 30, it says, look, houses, because we're going to have homes. It says, and brethren. Well, in order for us to have brethren, they will have to have fathers and mothers and sisters and mothers. So we're going to have mothers. So that proves to you that women will be in the kingdom. There's going to be a gender called woman in the kingdom. Maybe we're going to use a Hebrew, a Paleo Hebrew term, we're going to go back to the Paleo Hebrew, a pure language, right? But you know what I'm trying to say is that they're going to be different genders in the kingdom. There's going to be mothers. So guess what that means? There's fathers. So that means there's male and there's female. So if there's male and female in the kingdom, you think we're not going to pop them? And right after that, it says in children. So how do you get children? If you have mother and a father, they come together, they have sex, which is marriage, and then you have children. And sex is marriage, which makes her your wife. In lands and persecutions in the world to come, eternal life. So really, I mean, that's why I was going so hard on Mark chapter 10, because it breaks it down. Look, it breaks down that we're going to have multiple wives, and it breaks down that we are going to have wives in the kingdom. Now I'm going to jump back to Zechariah chapter 8, because this breaks it down perfect. Verse 1, it says, again, the word of the Lord of hosts came to me, saying, thus saith the Lord of hosts, I was jealous for Zion with great jealousy, and I was jealous for her with great fury. Now, let me stop right there. I appreciate the motivation that you give me to make these videos and make these topics, and it's never a burden, brother, because you are seeking out the Lord, and I'm going to put up a video about seeking the Lord here pretty soon when I get the time to make it. But you're seeking out the Lord. You're seeking out this knowledge. Here it is. You could be doing anything in the world that you want to do. You could be doing all wickedness and mystery Babylon, the great whore. You could be doing all wickedness, but you're here and you're seeking the Lord. You're seeking knowledge about the Lord. That's a great thing, man, because a lot of people are not doing that. The world is not doing that. It's a remnant that's doing that. Now, verse 3, it says, thus saith the Lord, I am returned into Zion and will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. And Jerusalem should be called a city of truth, in the mountain of the Lord of hosts, in the holy mountain. We definitely not called that right now. We're called bywords and we call bywords right now, right? Now, this is talking about the kingdom, when we're going to be called the city of truth. That's when we're going to actually get our city back, right? In the mountain of the Lord of the hosts, in the holy mountain. Now it says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, there shall yet old man and old woman dwell in the streets of Jerusalem, and every man with his staff in his hand for a very age. Because remember, man, we're going to live for a very long time. Now it says, and the streets of the city shall be full of boys and girls playing in the streets thereof. So when you talk about boys and girls in the streets, well, how do we get boys and girls? Which goes back to showing you there's going to be two different genders. There's going to be boys, there's going to be girls, and there's going to be women and men in the kingdom. What do you need woman and man for? Well, if you go back to 1 Corinthians 11, it tells you man is the head of the woman, and we supposed to come together, and we not supposed to deny each other sex, pretty much. Deny each other access to each other's body. That's a part of our law too. That's why you have woman and man. What was woman created for? Woman was created for the man so we could have sex and we could have babies. And we could be fruitful and multiply, which this tells you. Verse 6, it says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, if it be marvelous in the eyes of the remnant of his people, the elect that got saved, right? The remnant. And these days shall also be marvelous in my eyes. And these days, the kingdom, saith the Lord of hosts. It says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, I will save my people from the east country and from the west country, and I will bring them, and they should dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and they should be my people, and I will be their God in the truth and righteousness. This is talking about when we get to the kingdom, because it says the same thing. Here, let me pull a precept to prove it. In Revelations 21, verse 1, and I saw a new heaven and new earth, and the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. It's the same account. And I heard a great voice of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with man, and he will dwell with them, and they should be his people. See, he says the same thing. And God himself should be with them and be their God. The exact same thing. It's talking about the exact same thing. So when you go to back to Zechariah chapter 8, what did it say? Verse 7, thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, I will save my people from the east country and from the west country, the elect that got saved, right? And I will bring them in, and they should dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. Now, in Revelations 21, I seen the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down. Same thing. And they should be my people, and I will be their God in the truth of righteousness. Just to break down that we're talking about the context of the kingdom. Verse 9, thus saith the Lord of hosts, right? Let me get it. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, let your hands be strong. So our hands are going to be strong as hell, man. Yeah, that here in these days the words by the mouth of the prophets. So that's what you're hearing. Hopefully I could be that man, be a prophet. Hopefully, you could get this knowledge and go out. I know you say you haven't been in the truth that long, and go out there and teach, and you could be a prophet too. It says, which were in the day that the foundation of the house of the Lord of the hosts was laid, that the temple might be built. It says, before these days there was no hire for man, nor any hire for beast, neither was there any peace to him that went out or came in because of the affliction. Now that goes back to our law too. It says Deuteronomy 28, starting at verse 15, that's one of the curses put on us. We wouldn't be prosperous when we go in or go out the city. It says, for I have set all men, everyone against his neighbor. Remember, that goes back to the curses of Deuteronomy 28. I know you read it. Starting at verse 15, we should have an evil eye against our brother, our neighbor. It says, but now I would not be into the residue of this people as in the former days, saith the Lord of hosts. For the seed shall be prosperous. So going back to the curses that was put on us, the man should leave his seed. He should leave his children. Those were some of the curses that was put on us. But the Lord is going to take those curses off of us. So therefore, we're going to be blessed in the kingdom. But he's going to put those curses on our enemies. Now, it says, for the seed should be prosperous. Well, what is the seed? That's talking about our sperm, our bloodline, our lineage. It's going to be very prosperous. Why? Because we're going to have multiple wives, and we're going to pop multiple women. It's kind of just like what you have on your screen right now. We're going to have sex with multiple women. We're going to have multiple wives, and we're going to have a whole bunch of children increased. It says, and the vine should give her fruit. It talks about that in the book of Isaiah. It says, and the ground should give her increase, and the heavens shall give her dew. That goes back to Deuteronomy chapter 28. That was the blessing that our father Isaac gave to us, was that we would have dominion over the heavens and the dew of the heavens, and that's the blessing. It says, and I will cause the remnant of this people to possess all these things. So that goes back to, here, I'll pull it real quick. The blessing that was given onto us, and our seed being prosperous is a part of it. Meaning that, look, we're going to have sex, and we're going to put our seed into a woman. So that proves that we're going to have a wife, and we're going to have multiple wives, and they're going to have children. That's why when you go back to verse 5, it says, in the streets of the cities shall be full. I'm talking about completely full, man, with boys and girls playing in the street. This is talking about the kingdom of heaven. Where can we have boys and girls playing in the street this day? It's complete wickedness. Kids are getting killed. Kids are getting kidnapped, missing. But in the kingdom, we're gonna have that dominion, Now, what did I want to pull? Because I was only going to pull 3, but the spirit gets on you. Now, going back to Genesis chapter 27, verse 28, it says, therefore God give thee the dew of heaven. See, this is how the book all comes together like a big puzzle piece. That's how you get the full understanding. And the fatness of earth, and plenty of corn and wine. So what people do is they take a precept, but they don't read the whole chapter. They don't read the whole book. They don't eat the whole row, going to what's that? Ezekiel chapter 3. They're not eating the whole row. So they're getting partial understanding, and they're trying to go off one thing, and then they making up a whole doctrine. But you have to read the whole Bible. And I understand that's the reason why you're checking in with me. Now it says, let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. No, I go back. It says, therefore God gave thee the dew of heaven and the fatness of earth and plenty corn and wine. Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's son bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be everyone that blesseth thee. But it's just going to show you, look, there's going to be women and men in the kingdom, and there's a reason for different genders for us to come together, have sex, and have babies, so our seed could be increased. Going back to Zechariah chapter 18, it's just that simple. Now, like I said, those curses were going to be taken off of us. The curses of Deuteronomy 28, and now our seed is going to be prosperous, right? And those curses are going to be put on our enemies. So when you go to Deuteronomy chapter 30, right here, verse 1, it says, and it should come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither the Lord thy God has driven thee, and shall return unto the Lord thy God. So when we return into our Lord, right, and shall obey his voice according to all that I commanded thee this day, thou and thy children. So how do we get our children? Our children don't just pop up out of nowhere. We get these spiritual bodies and we in the kingdom, and now their children just pop up out of nowhere. If that was the case, it wouldn't be no need for children. You just pop up a man or you just pop up a woman. No, it's a reason why we're going to have children in the kingdom of heaven, and we know how we get children. By a mother and a father coming together having sex, which is marriage, which proves in the kingdom we will have wives. Now it says that thou and thy children with all thy heart and with all thy soul. It says that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity, our children and us, right? It says, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from the nations, whether the Lord thy God has scattered us. Not gather all nations, but gather Israelites from out of all nations, because we were scattered. It says, if any of thy be driven out into the utmost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land. So this is talking about us going to the kingdom, which thy fathers possess, right? So we going back to our chosen land, and we're going to inherit the kingdom, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. How's the Lord going to multiply us above our fathers? Is he just going to pop up humans? Because remember, the kingdom of heaven is on earth. That's what Revelations 21 is talking about. A new kingdom, a new heaven, a new earth. It says, and he seen Jerusalem coming down. They're coming down out the heavens onto the earth to inherit the kingdom. Now, how's the Lord going to multiply us? Just you wake up tomorrow, there's a new Hebrew Israelite man. No, we're going to get our woman. We're going to get our multiple wives. We're going to have sex with them. They're going to have babies, and they're going to be born children. That's how it works. Now we know that. Now it says, and the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possess, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. We gonna have a lot of sex, man, a lot of wives. And the Lord thy God will circumcise thy heart and the heart of thy seed. So it shows you we're gonna have seed in the kingdom. The Lord is gonna circumcise the heart of our seed, of our children's, to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy souls, that thou mayest live. Now, what do you have right now? In America, you have monogamy. And like I was saying, that if you look up the stats, you have 83% of just the Negro woman, Hebrew Israelite, just the Negro woman. This ain't talking about all the rest of the tribes, but I know just for the Negro woman, you have 83% of them unmarried. So how is the Lord going to multiply our seed and multiply us above our fathers if we on some monogamy stuff, which we clearly see doesn't work as a whole for the nation? No, we're going to have a lot of wives. That's why our seed is going to be rapidly multiplied, because if a brother in the kingdom got 100 wives, and he's popping all of them, because we're going to have those spiritual bodies and that power to be able to do that. Now I know you're probably sitting at home like, man, that's impossible to do. We can't do that. Yeah, right now in these bodies and these corruptible bodies, but when we get those uncorruptible bodies, we're made like the man of old. When we get those strong spiritual bodies, then we're going to be able to pop these women. You know, that the curse of the woman having pains during pregnancy came during the time of Adam and Eve, when Eve sinned, when Eve went off. So that curse is going to be taken off the woman. So they're going to be able to pop babies out with no pain. So we're gonna have a lot of children, man. We're gonna be popping a lot of women, because we're gonna be kings and priests on the earth, and that's how our seed is gonna be multiplied. So I'm gonna leave it there and say, hopefully that has been edifying, and salvation to the elect. Shalom.